Thanks, Larry.
This was something on Capitol Hill today. I watched it and I thought I was an 80s time warp. They lost the middle class, and now they're claiming that Trump's tariffs are for the rich.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense at all. And I got to say that I'm so honored to be part of a team with people like Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. Because if you could imagine that while he's doing that, we had a so-called Big Six meeting today with the Speaker of the House and the Majority Leader and the rest of the staff going over what the big, beautiful bill is going to look like. If you go back and look, again, the bottom line is that President Trump's America First, American Worker First agenda in the first term made it so that wages went up by $6,500. Wages went up by between 2017 and 2019 by more for people at the bottom than people at the top. Income inequality declined because of the policies that we're now multiplying by 2. And so to oppose those is to oppose reductions in income inequality, oppose growth in real wages, growth of jobs. And the people that are opposing that, I don't know what they're really standing for, but it's certainly not the American people.
You know what's better than a self-congratulatory parade? A Trump advisor on TV telling us that liberal scaremongers were proven wrong. Oh yes, break out the confetti, inflate the ego balloons, and cue the Mar-a-Lago kazoo ensemble, because apparently the only thing aging worse than Trump's spray tan is political accountability. Before we go any further, hit that like button like it just said something vaguely critical of Trump, subscribe so you don't miss future breakdowns, and leave a comment below, in all caps, emojis, or interpretive dance instructions.
Kevin, the Federal Reserve Chair spoke about tariffs today. Watch.
A great deal of uncertainty about, for example, where tariff policies are going to settle out, and also when they do settle out, what will be the implications for the economy, for growth, and for employment. I think it's too early to know that. So, I mean, ultimately, we think our policy rate is in a good place to stay as we await further clarity on tariffs and ultimately their implications for the economy.
And meanwhile, Kevin, the New York Times tonight has a headline: recession warnings are everywhere, except in the data. I love that. I love that piece in the Times. The facts don't show a recession. But what's going to happen here with the Fed? Are they going to? You believe they'll lower rates if some of these deals begin to be announced?
Well, first, we respect the independence of the Fed, but I don't always agree with Chairman Jay Powell on policy. And I still, as I've said before in the last few weeks after the president talks about the Fed again, that I'm dismayed that they've got bad economic modeling of what might happen to tariffs.
So here's the gist. A top Trump advisor has now decided that since the world didn't end in a mushroom cloud during the Trump years, every liberal warning must have been hot air. Apparently, because we weren't vaporized by nuclear tweets, the critics were just snowflakes in doomsday cosplay. Who knew diplomacy was just yelling at North Korea online until they ghost you? Let's zoom in on the Middle East moment. Trump's crew now struts around claiming victory because World War III didn't spontaneously combust after the killing of Qasem Soleimani. Liberals warned it could spiral into regional chaos. Instead, it turned into, well, more Middle East tension and some very awkward United Nations meetings. But hey, no mushroom clouds. So obviously it was a win, right? And remember when Trump moved the US embassy to Jerusalem? Experts raised alarm bells. Even some moderate voices called it a provocation. Mega World called it historic. The fallout? Protests, global condemnation, and a diplomatic migraine so severe it probably got its own parking space at the State Department. Then there's climate change. According to Team Trump, people like Greta Thunberg and every scientist on Earth are just part of an eco-conspiracy against American hamburgers. Kudlow, Happer, Ebel, they all treated rising temperatures like seasonal allergies. The climate always changes, they said, which is like hearing a smoke alarm and saying, relax, fire is just energy expressing itself. Larry Kudlow once looked at a dire UN climate report and basically said, hey, it's probably fine. This from a guy who predicted endless economic growth from tax cuts like he was narrating a children's fantasy book. William Happer called carbon dioxide plant food. Sure, and arsenic is a spice if you ignore the consequences. Myron Ebel, who sounds like he should be a cartoon villain, worried more about someone taking away his cheeseburger than about coastal cities turning into Venice. But let's not forget the true nemesis of the Trump era, The media. Steve Bannon, always looking like he just crawled out of a conspiracy forum, famously labeled the press the opposition party. Question Trump? You're fake news. Report facts. You're fake news. Mispronouncing Kovfef? Absolutely fake news. Trump turned fake news into a lifestyle brand. Criticism wasn't inconvenient. It was a hoax. Reality became negotiable. If CNN reported rain, half the country would walk outside with sunglasses out of spite. Trump could say gravity was invented by the Clintons, and someone would start a GoFundMe to jump off a roof to own the libs. Now, seriously, let's pull back for a second. This idea that liberals were wrong simply because the world didn't collapse is, frankly, nonsense. It's like driving drunk, making it home safely, and saying DUI laws are overblown. Just because some worst-case scenarios didn't come true doesn't mean the chaos didn't happen. There was a pandemic, during which Trump suggested bleach as a potential treatment. An actual insurrection, encouraged by a rally that featured more calls to action than a Michael Bay trailer. And don't forget him tossing paper towels in Puerto Rico like he was doing layup drills at a hurricane relief event. Sure, there was no Third World War, but we got a global reputation crisis, increased authoritarian boldness, and a political culture in America where facts now have to pass a vibe check. Trump didn't wreck everything in a blaze. He chipped away at trust, institutions, and truth itself. Slowly, subtly. Like someone who rearranges your furniture every day until you forget where the couch originally was. The so-called liberal scaremongers weren't always wrong. They just had the timeline off. They were the early warnings before the actual fires. Because Trumpism was never about policy precision. It was a theater. It was a spectacle. A mix of bravado, grievance, and performance art, designed to overwhelm and exhaust. To make outrage boring and scandal feel like static. So when Trump's advisors show up now, smirking like kids who didn't get caught stealing cookies, remember, they're not proving critics wrong. They're just really good at rewriting the rules. In Trump world, outcomes don't matter. Optics do. And if things fall apart, find someone to blame, deny everything, then tweet something unrelated to distract everybody. That's the game plan. Shout your success louder than your failures. Pretend the past didn't happen. Hope no one brings receipts. Because yeah, maybe the world didn't catch fire, but it definitely got smoke damage. And if you're spinning that as proof of triumph, congratulations. You just might qualify as Trump's next chief of reality distortion. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe. Or risk being appointed to a government agency you didn't know existed with a title that sounds made up. See you next time.